You know, it's a really refreshing kind of construction of character for me, because obviously with action movies you have to think about the cinematics and you know the stoicism of the character. But with Victor, it was so ensconced with a beautiful backstory of him, and which we see in the film. And so I had that layering system in place for me, and he's very lonely and very meticulous, and so he's utterly a product of his environment. It was really a case of getting in the mind of him as a man, and we didn't want to vilify him. I didn't want to make him anything than just a man that happens to be a hitman. So my leading edge, I guess, as a character was to make him a rounded human being that we could kind of, the compromise of like, or the confusion of why do we kind of either like him or understand him, and not kind of set it up that he's just this villain or this monster, because he's not. He's just a product of his environment, you know, where he came from. But this movie is about the predicament that his life has put him in, and the product he realizes, I think, he's become. And I think love is what he thinks is his, if you like, his life vest, his preserver to get him out of it, and unexpectedly. And then obviously the ramifications of that are very surprising. But yeah, it was definitely more of a character study than I normally get to do, because like I say, you have to sometimes think about the call shot and the cinematics, but this wasn't anything to do with that. And Perry, our director, really wanted it to be driven by character. He was very meticulous with that, and a great guy to work with, so he was definitely assisting with that for sure. When I first got to the UK and I saw the costume, I wasn't overly happy with it, and I wanted to make sure it was somewhat synonymous with, also you got Interview with a Hitman. I think there's been a successful video game and there's certain things there that I think you have to realize then that's both a truthful debate and a cinematic debate. And so I wanted to make sure that he looked slick enough to be that guy that people were very immediately comfortable with, that looks like a hitman, the idealism of that. But then also make it somewhat functional and not too standing out. Like, I didn't want it to be somebody that was too garish or showing off, and you don't see his weapons. He just looks like maybe a successful businessman. So, you know, he's at that moment you would evaluate him and let him go if he passed you in the street. And when he's on the subway, or we say the tube, or the tube, we say, I think he needs to blend in. I think he needs to be somewhat ambiguous, and I think we achieved that. And when he needs to be cinematic, I think we achieved that also. So it was a juggling act, but a fun one to sort of embark upon. ABC are very much behind this TV show. I'm really proud to be a part of it. Melissa Rosenberg from the Twilight fame wrote all those stories. Dexter, she wrote that. Such a capable lady, a wonderful person, and very meticulous about what she wants. So we have that on our side. Some people have said to me, "Oh, I heard it's a crime drama." No, a family drama. I'm like, family in the sense of a crime family, yeah. It's very, very thorough, the story. It's very rounded. It's like you could tip the story on any axis and lift stones and find more interesting things. It's shot very filmic kind of style. He is, again, I guess a hitman or an enforcer. It's, again, was just, you know, put under the wing of the crime boss, which is Radha Mitchell's father, or Martha's father. Looks after me since I was a young kid. I'm embraced by the family because I've always been around, you know. But after the death of her husband, the brutal murder of her husband on episode 1, hence Red Widow, he assigns me to her. And because I've known her since I was a small boy, and as she has me, there's a lot of love there and trust, and I'm there to keep her and the kids safe. There has been talk of Death Race 4. I don't know if I would want to be a part of that. I'm sure it would be fantastic.
Do you feel like Frankenstein's that you kind of fulfilled Frankenstein's arc in the last film?
Yeah, I do actually. You know, I think it really tied the story in. And like, how did this Frankenstein guy come about, and how comes they're replaceable? Well, because he's a franchise and he's got a mask, and so anyone who can drive can be him. So I think we did, especially with part 3, we achieved that kind of braid and put it together and made sense of it. And I feel like I had a valid part of that.